Some recent controversial pieces of legislation to come out of the states, like Arizona's tough immigration law and Wisconsin's law severely limiting the collective bargaining rights of public employees, those laws originated with the American Legislative Exchange Council. ALEC is an association of state legislators and corporate representatives who, together, draft model legislation designed to be replicated in states across the country. So you have seen ALEC's effect on Wisconsin's laws firsthand. And some people might say, well, what's the big deal? It's just another trade group. What's the problem?
Well, it's way more than a trade group. This is, one of the most powerful lobbying organizations I've ever seen. They pass an enormous amount of legislation. It's not legislation that's in the public interest. It's all corporate special interest legislation. And the fact that they're effective in so many legislatures and so many bills that are bad for the public, and they like to operate in the shadows, we need to expose them.
You've got a bunch of legislators, presumably in Wisconsin, who are members of ALEC. And they go to these conferences and they get sort of model legislation handed out, not just in Wisconsin, but to all of these other states. You actually crashed one of these ALEC meetings. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw?
Sure. If you've ever been to a speed dating event, it's like a corporate speed dating event. They take these homely special interests and they try to match them with the objects of their affection, which are state legislators. And if the relationship works out right, eventually you'll have the culmination of special interest legislation. And it's just totally matching special interests and legislators at private parties and in lavish events. And really, they write model legislation, they give it to the legislators, they tell them how to pass it, and then they get it passed. And this all happens behind the scenes and the public has no idea.
You've
Absolutely.
introduced a bill, this ALEC Accountability Act. Tell us what that does.
Well, we've done this in Arizona and Wisconsin. I think Minnesota and New Hampshire and some other states are looking at it. It basically makes ALEC register as a lobbyist, because that's what they are, a very powerful lobbying organization. But it also makes them disclose who they give the scholarships to. People get a free trip. Legislators get a free trip to these things paid for by corporations. If you're a lobbyist, that has to be reported. So we'll know who's getting these trips, who's getting paid for by the corporations. And then finally, we don't let state legislative dollars go towards their dues, because you would never give taxpayer money to a lobbying organization. Pretty basic, pretty simple. It basically shines the light on a group that wants to operate in the shadows, and it's completely in the public interest.